Welcome to the Federal. So, amid the COVID-19 pandemic, we have reports suggesting that the pandemic is likely to be around for 18 months. And there are a number of clinical trials of vaccines against the deadly disease that are being expedited and underway. But how far or near are we? What does it take to ensure that it reaches all those who are in need of it? To discuss this today, we have Dr. N Kumarasamy, Chief and Director, Voluntary Health Services, Infectious Diseases Medical Centre, Director, Chennai Antiviral Research and Treatment, Clinical Research Site of US National Institute of Health. Thanks for joining us, Doctor, today. So the first question is that, with the COVID-19 outbreak, there is a whole lot of treatment options like anti-malarial drug, anti-HIV combination drug, etc. What is the extent of their success? Do we know as yet?
So, as you all know that, this disease, which is caused by this SARS-CoV-2, which was first discovered in December last week in China, in Wuhan, and subsequently in many parts of the world, including here in India as well as here in Chennai, is causing this devastation and causing this viral illness everywhere. So if you see this particular disease pathogenesis, it spreads through respiratory secretions, and when someone inhales this, someone who has been infected, and if their respiratory secretions are inhaled, and they can develop this viral disease. Typically, the symptoms they'll develop is fever. They can have cough, which is mostly a dry cough, but it can also be associated with phlegm, we call it sputum, and also will be associated with breathing difficulties. We call it as shortness of breath. Also, these persons who have been infected with this virus can develop body pain, we call myalgia, and also pains in the joints, like any other typical viral illness. And these various clinical manifestations will also occur in any viral disease. So it's very difficult to differentiate that one can have this COVID-19, this coronavirus disease, which was discovered in December 19, as compared to the other viral diseases. So it has been very difficult. So what clinicians do across the globe is when someone comes to these symptoms, they treat a common illness with the symptomatic drugs. And if they don't, respond to these, and if the symptoms become worse, like breathing problems, or if they have been developing complications in the kidneys or other complications in the heart, then they are subjected for COVID-19 testing if they have a history of recent international travel, or if they have contact with any of those other COVID-19 patients, and they have been provided various types of treatment modalities. So till today, we don't have an effective cure for this. You might be seeing and reading in different media that variety of drugs have been tried. First, in China and Wuhan, when they have been discovered, so those clinicians started using a drug called lopinavir, which we have been using in our HIV-infected people for many, many, many years. In fact, personally, I was involved in some of those clinical trials for HIV, which is a very powerful drug. But the same drug was tried in COVID-19 patients. So there is a small group of clinicians said it has got some action, and patients are doing clinically well. But following those reports, there is a group of researchers in China. They did a clinical trial that is on 199 patients, where they recruited for this clinical trial. They're all confirmed with COVID-19. And among them, 99 patients, they put them on this particular drug, lopinavir, another 100 patients on standard of care. They're supportive care. They are giving oxygen, giving the supportive symptomatic relief. That particular trial was completed, and it has now been documented and published in the New England Journal of Medicine a couple of days back. And it shows that this particular drug called lopinavir, which we are using in HIV-infected people, has got no effect in reducing this virus level of SARS-CoV-2, which causes this COVID-19. So following this drug, this drug is not anymore recommended for managing people with COVID-19. So there are several people who have been involved in variety of different clinical research. They are also been trying other various antivirals, which they had been used for HIV or hepatitis C or for general viral diseases. These are all still under evaluation. we don't have any particular report stating that this particular antiviral drug has got any effect. But there is one drug which is showing some promising results in the lab called remdesivir, which is developed by a company called Gilead Sciences in the US. Now, currently, it is under clinical trials in the US and several other developed world. So this is showing some promising results, but there is nothing to show that this is the drug for managing COVID-19. We need to wait for the results. It may take another week or so. But on the other hand, there are several clinicians and researchers are trying a variety of other drugs, including a drug which we use for treating and managing malaria, that is chloroquine. So again, chloroquine, there is a particular form of chloroquine called hydroxychloroquine, which is also to treat malaria as well as for a lot of other rheumatoid conditions, commonly for rheumatoid arthritis. So they have done some basic science studies in the lab, which shows that it can suppress following the COVID-19 disease. That is, when someone is infected with this virus, particularly when they have been infected earlier, when they have been diagnosed with the SARS and as well as MERS, so these patients have certain type of symptoms where these all been developed by certain substance called cytokines, which are released in the body because of the effects of this virus. So this particular drug has got some effect on. There are a lot of research currently happening, both in the US and Europe, and as well as in other developing countries, including there in China. So there are several people have been using this drug to prevent COVID-19. Again, we don't have any proof to recommend that this is the drug to prevent this. At this time, these drugs are all still under trial, and we need to wait for the trial data. So I think these are all work in progress. So till now, we don't have any effective cure for this COVID-19. But on the other hand, we have various treatment modalities to contain the symptoms to provide supportive care. Again, if you look into all those reports being published across the globe, more than 85% of the people who have been affected with COVID-19, they improve if they have been provided supportive care. They're treating their symptoms, providing supportive care if they have respiratory problem or kidney problem or cardiac problem. So less than 15% of the people die of this disease. Hence, today at this time, the major treatment is to identify them. People who have got symptoms, test them, and provide all those supportive care, and isolate them and provide appropriate precautions so that the others who have been providing care to them, don't be infected from these people who are already been infected with this disease. So this is a current line of management which across the globe clinicians have been doing this. But we need to wait for some more data from different clinical trials to state that this is the particular drug for curing this COVID-19. So we need to wait for it, and there could be some promising results in the next couple of weeks.
So that takes us to the question of Doctor about the possibility of finding a vaccine. So there are a number of clinical trials underway for that as well. So, and what is India's take in this? Because considering we are like one of the biggest vaccine providers for the third world countries at the moment.
Right. Vaccines are very different from treatment. Vaccines are for preventing. So there are a few vaccines for some of those viral diseases. We have a vaccine for hepatitis B. We have vaccine for polio. We have vaccine for H1N1. So now for COVID-19, we do not have any vaccines. None of these vaccines are used for other viral diseases won't work for it. So again, research is currently underway. They have been developing vaccines either from the killed COVID-19 virus, and they have been developing vaccines, and they have been trying on people who are being negative to COVID-19. Also, they are being simulating this in an experimental basis in the laboratories and developing an artificial mode of developing a vaccine. And they have been also trying this in people who are being COVID-19. But till now, we don't have any effective vaccine. All these vaccine trials will take time. It can take anything from 12 months to 18 months. So we may not have a vaccine for another 1 to 1.5 years for COVID-19 at this time. There are a lot of groups, doing this trial. The major group which has been carrying out such research is National Institute of Health in the US. So they have developed collaborations with many academic institutions in the US and Europe, and as well as in developing countries, and also with many of those pharmaceutical R&D companies who have earlier, capabilities to develop other vaccines. Again, this is work in progress. At this time, we do not have any effective vaccine to prevent COVID-19. The only effective vaccine is doing social distancing and take appropriate precautions from people who are already been exposed to this disease.
And also, what is the kind of immune system that the vaccine developers are looking for, doctor? Because that is something that actually plays a crucial role in determining the best vaccine, right? So, what is the kind of immune system that they would be looking at?
So, actually, what is a vaccine is, we give a substance to the people who don't have the disease. Either we take that substance directly from these organism, either it is a virus or bacteria or whatever organism, or we kill that organism and take from that particular organism's products, or we'll also can develop this artificially in a laboratory. So we use that particular product, we call it as an antigen, and we give it to those people who are not infected to that particular disease. And when we give that particular antigen, and what happens is in those people who don't have the disease, so they recognizes this antigen and develop a substance called antibody to fight against that antigen, to fight against these diseases. And as a result, this particular antibody will help to protect when one is exposed to this particular virus or bacteria or any other pathogen who causes the disease. So this is the principles behind this any vaccines. So similarly, again for COVID-19, research has currently been happening to get these antigens either from the live virus COVID-19 or from the killed virus, or simulated one from the laboratory, and they have been giving this to those people who have been negative and trying to identify whether these individuals are developing antibodies to protect against COVID-19. So that type of immune response, we have been expecting whether one can develop. If they develop that, then we will know that that particular individual is been immune against this particular COVID-19. So I think this is all will take time. This is not like it won't take, we won't have the results in 1 week or 2 weeks time. It may take months and months. Again, these immune response need to be sustainable, not just for 1 day or for 1 week, should be sustainable. So I think we need to wait for a little longer time for these results of these trials, so that we can recommend to the public that this is the vaccine for COVID-19. So at this time, these are all trials are in progress. So hopefully, we may get some initial results in the next couple of months.
Let us be optimistic then about it. So that also takes us to the question that, considering that not even over 150 countries across the world have been facing this pandemic at the moment. Mm-hmm. So what would be the guideline for in case if there is a vaccine available, like in a year or more, what would be the guidelines adopted to ensure that it's equitably distributed? Is there any set of guidelines for that? Like how they should be distributed to the countries that are actually seeing the case?
I think to give any vaccines, we have a set of guidelines. We have vaccines for children, to prevent vaccine-preventable diseases, so which have been given to all children, starting from polio vaccine, to diphtheria, tetanus, and all those vaccines, being given. We also have a set of vaccines for the adult, for pneumococcal pneumonia, for hepatitis B, now for women on, to prevent HPV, related cancers. We have set of vaccines, So similarly, I think if there is a vaccine for COVID-19, we'll develop a guideline, who will, get this. So at this time, it's too early to make, any such recommendations. I think once a vaccine has been available and based on the trial data, to whom it is safe. When we develop a vaccine, a trial, the major objective of the trial is to find whether it has got a protective effect. We call it as an efficacy. We also have several secondary objectives, whether the vaccine is safe, whether it stimulates immune responses in all population, especially in children, in younger people, in adult, and also whether it stimulates a similar immune response in people with other comorbid conditions like diabetes, hypertension, kidney disease, or if they have any other immunosuppressive diseases like HIV or any other cancers, or if they have been taking any other concomitant medications. So based on these results, then these guidelines for vaccines will be developed, whether it can be given to any such population based on the immune response which are being generated from these clinical trials. I think we need to wait for the outcome of these studies before we make any such recommendation.
There is a lot to wait and watch out for when it comes to the wonder drug and with the vaccines available also for COVID-19. Thanks a lot, Dr. Kumarasamy, for joining us and sharing your thoughts with us. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching
Thank you
the
very much. Thank you.